Well, nothing completely to write home about this time, just a piece of lead. But it looks like it might have markings on it. It's very old, whatever. It looks like it's got runes or something on it, but that could just be, it's very easy to see what we want in lead blobs. But anyway, I'm back on this pasture and I'm doing it really carefully. I've been over it, I have been over it a lot. If you follow these videos, you will know that. But I do rush around it rather because I get very bored when I'm just tracking and gridding all the time. But I'm just going to do certain areas really carefully, and it's already paying off because, well, I found all sorts of bits and pieces I hadn't found before. Nothing particularly groundbreaking apart from this. And my God, now I've found a few of these over the years. I'm lucky enough to come from a part of the country where there's loads. And I know there are some people who don't find any, and they're on all sorts of bucket lists. But down here in the southeast, well, there's plenty. I mean, I really didn't almost dig this. I mean, that just sounds horrible. I'm still picking it up 3 feet off the ground, 2 feet off the ground. Listen. Anyway, it's a Crotal bell and it's an absolute stunner. It is definitely the best one I've ever found. Even though it might not be in the best condition, there's definitely a break there and a little break there. But my God, it's a drilled one, which makes it early. Well, in Crotal bell terms, early. And it's a fish scale design, but my God, the scales on it and the quality of workmanship. It's obviously, I wouldn't say silver, but it's got a lot of tin in it to give it this sort of rather silvery colour. And this is just a quality Crotal bell under any circumstances. I don't know if it rings or not. It should do, unless of course the ring has come out of there. But my God, it's just an absolute beauty. By far the most tactile I've ever found. The scales are so crisp. Wow. It's one of the first things I found today, and I'm just really hopeful. That's a bad sign always, but anyway. Well, on a dry day I wouldn't have dug this, because on a dry day here, really strong signals very close to the surface can only be ring pulls. But today I'm digging those because they might be very slightly deeper, and this is just, well, I think it's a small Nuremberg jetton. Well, I thought it might have been an English one at first because of the size, but no, it's a little Nuremberg one. And like, I found hundreds of jettons in these fields. They are in such good condition, and this is no exception. It's an absolute beauty. It's not one I am particularly familiar with, especially that size. But I can see, I think, what they call the rose and orb, or the crown and orb, or whatever it might be. Crauwinkel. You can see it just there on the legend. He was the maker of these things. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. You can read the whole thing. But it's a lovely one, but very coppery sounding. I thought it was hammered when I first saw it. Very clipped and coppery. That's a beauty. Hi there, welcome to headquarters. I've got to be fairly quick this time because I'm going to run out of space in this video if I waffle on for too long. But just a quick look at this jetton. I have done a film on jettons, a little video on jettons on my other channel. I'll put a link in the description. I hope it's a fairly clear and concise and fairly quick view on Continental and English jettons. This one's a Continental one, it's a Nuremberg type. It's incredibly clear. I love the fact that you can read all sorts of things on it, including the maker's name, Crauwinkel, very obviously. I thought it was a rose orb type, because, and here I was mistaken until I did a bit of research. I thought rose orb meant there was a rose type thing on one side and the orb on the other. Well, it's not. it actually means there's a rose on one of the sides with lee and crowns surrounding it. And the rose orb type itself is very common. I mean, you do find a lot of them. Even though, thinking about jettons in general, I don't find nearly as many jettons as I do hammered coins. But this one's nice for me because it's got Mercury. I said at the time I wasn't sure, it was a bit unfamiliar. It's got the bust of Mercury on one side facing right. And even though I don't think that's perhaps particularly rare, it's a first for me. I haven't come across one. So I'm thrilled with that. So if you find a jetton with a bust on it, likely to be Mercury. And this one, oh, quite often they have guys with turbans on as well, I saw. And this one dates to about 1600. And let's just have a quick look at this incredible Crotal bell, which I've noticed I haven't even cleaned properly. There we go, just give that. The reason I got so excited about it is because, as I said in the video, I know a lot of people never find a Crotal bell if they're in the wrong part of the country. In the south there are lots. I mean, I have found lots of Crotal bells. These are just a handful of some of the fuller ones. So it's all sorts of different rings, all sorts of different sizes, all sorts of different ages. But there's one thing they have in common, is they're often fairly smooth, and you can get lots of design on them, and there are often initials and stuff on them, and different kinds of loop. That, funnily enough, as I often point out, that the more crude the loop, the actually later it is. When you've got one with a nice drilled hole, it tends to be one of the early ones. There's a brilliant website for Crotal bells. I'll put a link in the description, which dates them and gives you all sorts of information. But the reason this one's so special is because it looks like it was probably lost almost as soon as it was belled on the animal it was meant for. The definition in the actual scales itself and the actual, where the lower hemisphere comes in, there's a very obvious sort of rim there. It's just incredible. Listen to that. It even sounds like it was lost immediately. It's obviously had a bash or two there from farming damage, I presume, but not from wear and tear at the time, because that's incredibly special. It really is. It's just in such good condition. And a bit of a surprise, because I don't find those there. I just find them everywhere else. Anyway, I'm going on far too long. Let's get back to the fields. And I've also found the most wonderful buckle. It's missing its pin, but the rest is absolutely superb. It's got the most lovely sort of copper strap end to it, which is slightly broken, but would have been really lovely. And it's got just some lovely design on it. But that's just a cracker as well. Gosh, there are some really lovely things still coming up in this pasture. And it's perfect conditions again for it. It rained heavily yesterday and it's just getting into the ground now. When it's the first day, it's felt really autumnal. All the colours are changing. It's a beautiful day to be out. Quite cold. Might have to put my hat on again soon, but it's just really put your faith back. Now that's pretty squeaky. But that's not a bad sign here. Signals are being sounding a little bit funny today, I've got to say. Yeah, lovely. It's not in there. Just in here. Let's test it now. See what it sounds like. Oh, nothing wrong with that. Just beautiful, but that's almost too good. There's a lot of army stuff here too. I bet it's a bullet. Oh well, look, that's absolutely charming. It's a tiny little buckle. Gosh, it's such a small thing. Look at the sound it makes. Well, it's been really worth digging these slightly iffy targets today. Now that's absolutely charming. It's tiny, it's got its pin. You can see where, I mean, that is in as good a condition a buckle as you could possibly ask for. There's a little bit of wire around it. I don't know what that's all about. Tiny wire, if anyone can tell me. It's very strange. But the actual thing itself, look, it's absolutely minute. Oh, it's beautiful, but such a... day is really firing it out today. It's the same old story, I'm afraid. The wind's much stronger than it probably seems to you watching, and the sun's is coming from there. So you're going to get much the same view, I'm afraid, today. Another really squeaky one. But I'm really liking these at the moment. And if it's better when you've done this, that's too close to the surface, really. Annoyingly. Gosh, tiny lead. That's squeaky too. But there's just enough about it. When it's wet like this and the ground's nice and moist, you've got to go for these slightly deeper targets. Well, that's encouraging. Sounding a bit better now. Bang in the middle. I'm pinpointing well today. Well, we're out. See how it sounds now. It's a tiny little coin. It's a tiny little Roman coin. Hooray! I love this field because you just never know what it's going to be. It could be army, it could be medieval, it could be Roman. Now, that's lovely. I don't know what's going on it. Well, it's definitely House of Constantine. I can see that quite clearly from the size and the look of the emperor. And on the other side, okay, it's the emperor spearing the fallen horseman. And it'll clean up really nicely because that's a beauty. Well, that was well worth digging. A slightly dodgy signal. Well, brilliant. Oh, this is exciting. I mean, I honestly thought it was foil, and it's giving quite a foily sound. Wind's picked up, I hope you can hear me. It's a tiny silver coin, and not only is it a tiny silver coin, it's a tiny little Celtic coin. It's a tiny little Celtic unit. Oh, listen to that. I mean, gosh, how many of these do I miss from not digging up what I think are tiny little 2-2 lead pellets or little bits of foil? How much do you miss? It's a wonder, isn't it? I don't think one should think too much about it, otherwise you'll go mad. You'll be digging up bits of foil all day long. But that is spectacular. Now, I don't know who it is, well, I'm completely thrilled. I'm blown away. And you know what this means? It means we have to go straight to headquarters, because that's the new rule. Celtic coin equals headquarters. Hi there, welcome back. Well, we could not have a look at this. Not least of all because I think it's the smallest Celtic unit that I've found. And it's just a wonder we find them at all at depth, isn't it? Look how mini it is. I'm talking to someone, so Big Ears here is getting jealous. Dan Tasky, good boy. I've found silver units before, but I think this is a half silver unit. It's a mini one. And I put it on the detectinghub.co.uk where it was identified fairly quickly. But before I had put it on the hub, I had consulted ancient British coins, and I've talked about this book before. It's absolutely brilliant. If you've got any chance of finding Celtic coins, or that you're just interested in them anyway, get this book. It's a very good investment. It's, you know, you don't need much else, I don't suppose. I suspect there are coins that aren't in it, but very few. Anyway, I leafed through this, and there's a very, very good identifier here, which is a sort of quick way of getting to your coin. You get very naughty with Celtic coins because there is a scale here right at the beginning of rarity, and I think it goes from very common, scarce, rare, very rare, goes up to excessively rare, and then unique ? And you just sort of start competing with yourself slightly, to hoping that you're going to get an excessively rare or an extremely rare or maybe even unique. It looked like what is called a mini Ecken stick horse. I hope I'm right in Ecken. It's spelled E-C-E-N. It might be Essen for all I know. The way I pronounce Celtic even with a soft C, Celtic, which I do try not to do, so don't pick me up on it, please. Anyway, as I said, it looked like what's called a mini stick horse, and I was just hoping it wasn't, because mini stick horse is rare. That's brilliant, rare. But it's not excessively rare or extremely rare, which is obviously what we're looking for, or not what we're looking for, but it's what it would be lovely to have. Anyhow, I put it on the detectinghub.co.uk, and the Warlocks there, one in particular said mini stick horse, which therefore I presume it must be. I've sent an email to Liz to see if she can shed any light on it. It hasn't got back to me yet, but I'm sure she will. The reason I wasn't completely convinced it was a stick horse was because I thought it looked like a little bird on it. A little sort of stylized bird. And if you look at the coins of this type, which is Iceni, they were quite big on putting birds on their coins, but on their gold status, not their silver ones, I think I'm right in saying. Anyway, a tiny coin, an absolutely beautiful coin, and one I'm completely thrilled with, and feel I was fairly lucky to dig in the first place, to be fair, because it just sounded like foil. So guys, dig your foil if you're in the mood. If you're in an area which is just tiny bits of foil, then I wouldn't dig foil. I think it'd drive you mad. But maybe in where I was, it's the right thing to do. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that. Let's go back to the fields. Anyway, wow. Gosh, there's a lesson in there somewhere. I'm not sure what it is. It could be just dig everything, but I can't see myself doing that. Anyway, wow. Well, I've just found the most fabulous buckle. I don't think it's particularly early. I think it's probably Tudor. Little spectacle buckle, but in jolly nice condition, gave an amazing signal. And I've got another one. A really promising one just there. So we'll dig this and then call it a day, I think. It might just be a bit of lead, but whatever it is, that's not a ring pull, and it's not modern trash, I can tell you that for nothing. This has got the perfect sound, and it's still in there. What a day of finds, I've got to say. Still in there. I can see it. It's green and it's just there, but I think it might well be modern. Oh look, I've given it a bit of a smash. Oh dear. Yeah, but a good depth. George V halfpenny. Yeah, George V halfpenny. Wow. I think we'll call it a day on that. I don't think it's going to get much better. Thank you very, very much for watching, and see you next time.